Hey guys, I am Katie from Mitza Creek Farm. Welcome back to my channel. You can see behind me, most of the snow has melted. We've been waking up every morning to a couple inches of snow, but thankfully it gets warm enough that it melts in the day. Now we're about to get a big blizzard. I just got warnings that we're supposed to get like 50-mile-an-hour winds, and so I am down picking up everything that I have pulled out of the high tunnel and going to put it back in. And then I want to talk to you guys about a secret I've been keeping from you. So let's get this stuff put away first, and then we'll go on to my big exciting news that I have. So first things first, got to roll up the sides. I forgot these open last night. It has been getting almost 100 degrees in here when the sun comes out. It feels wonderful down here working, but I do have to vent it. And I totally forgot to come down and close up the sides last night, and it got down to about 20 degrees. So it got pretty cold in here, but that's okay. I only have snow peas planted so far. There we go. I only have snow peas planted so far, so that will be a-okay with them. They like the cold, they don't like the hot. And I forgot the hose on, so I got up in the middle of the night and turned it off. Look at this. I left it on mist, and it created a really cool layer of ice on everything. We also have our strawberries from last year, and I had seen a couple green spots in there. So I had seen a couple green spots in the strawberries, which were very exciting. So we should be able to get strawberries on those this year, and those actually are going to be transplanted once we get everything else figured out and assembled. So those will be out of here, but I just have them in there now so that it's easy to water. So we have, for the most part, everything in here cleaned up, and we are going to this weekend get the rest of it all done and ready. We can't plant in here yet because it still gets too cold at night. I did get frost cover, but my oldest daughter is graduating in May, and we are going to use the high tunnel as her backup for her graduation party. Our plan is to have it down here in the stone coop in the high tunnel and outside. We do have shade cover coming for the high tunnel, so if it's really hot and people need a shady place to go, this will be open. And if it's cold, we have a couple heaters we can throw in here and people can sit in here. If it's just one of those beautiful days, people can sit outside or in the stone coop where it's nice and cool. So we're planning on using this for like a multi-use area for her graduation. But normally we can't plant until Memorial Day because it usually freezes anyways. So I do have frost cover. So I am going to use that and get a couple more things planted after this next cold stretch is over. But for the most part, we can't plant until Memorial Day anyways. So we're going to use it. Her graduation and stuff are the 2 weeks leading up to Memorial Day. So we're going to use it while it's empty. And then after her graduation, then we get going on planting in here. So I did something big, and I went back to school this winter in permaculture design. And so this year we are focusing on taking this whole area here and designing it for a massive permaculture pumpkin patch hybrid. And so we're going to be growing pumpkins in here, but we're also going to be growing the things that we want for ourselves and potentially to sell to other people and give away to other people. So the plan is that we built I believe 6 of these raised beds, it might have been 5 last fall. And so we are going to be putting those out here. But those are going to have in the center of them perennials. Surrounding those perennials will be our annuals, like tomatoes, peppers. They're all going to be companion planted so that things are working with each other and not against each other. And so those raised beds will be set up for long term. And by long term, I mean like 3 to 5 years, because eventually my plan is to have this all pretty level and then have in-ground beds. But that's going to take a while to build our soil up to what it needs to be. So here in our orchard, we have a pear tree, an apple tree, another apple tree, and another apple tree. So 3 apple trees and a pear tree. So right here, but back a little further, we're going to plant another apple tree and another one over there and another one over there. And the apples that we chose are all ripening at different times. So starting at the beginning of August, we will have apples ripen, and they will continue to ripen through October. So we will have, towards the end of summer, we will have a continual crop of apples, which will be wonderful. Our pear tree starts ripening in August as well. Eventually, we will have some plum trees and that kind of stuff in there. We are going to fence this whole area in. And back beyond the fence, way over there, we're planting winterberry. And that's so that we can use them for wreaths and arrangements at Christmas time. Those are a very, very expensive part of wreath making, are the extras. And we try to keep everything as natural as possible. So we have winterberry trees that are all going over there. They will be outside of the fence because those can be toxic if eaten. So those aren't going to be in this area. But then we have 2 different types of dogwood, a gray dogwood, which has like gray white berries, and then we have a red dogwood, and those have the beautiful red little tiny branches, and so those look beautiful in arrangements and wreaths as well. Up there we will have some blueberries planted, also some blackberries and some raspberries. We have grapes coming and asparagus. So all of this year we're focusing on building up our permanent agriculture, our permaculture area. So then that way next year it'll be pretty simple. Then that way the things that take a while to grow, take years to get fruit off of, we will be able to harvest those in a few years instead of always putting it off. So then over here, I'm in between the high tunnel and the greenhouse. This area where you see all these mums that we transplanted last year, there will actually be a fence up there. And we are using the front half where these mums are just for flowers, just so that we have a pretty barrier between out here, which will be our retail and event space, and inside in the garden. And I was looking yesterday and I have some things popping up here and I'm very excited about them. So right down in here, you can see we have bulbs that are starting to pop up. So there's one there and there's one there. Last fall we planted tons of tulips and irises and daffodils in this area to create a barrier. Winter here feels like it's so long. It's usually overcast and gray in the winter, so when the sun comes out it feels glorious. And so by the time spring gets here, we're all ready to see flowers and sunshine and new life. And so I planted this here so that not only would it look pretty for Sydney's graduation, it would create a barrier between the garden area and this area out here. And I wasn't quite sure how well this would work, but it looks to be working really well. And then over here, You can see they're just kind of all everywhere. Now, I don't know if these mums that are here are gonna come back. They got planted pretty late. It was while we were working on the greenhouse. But I did notice that there is still life in those ones up there, so that is very exciting for me. My plan is to have mums up there all along the length of the building, and that way they will be perennials. And actually, when you plant them as perennials, they will bloom twice a year. They'll bloom once in early summer, I believe around June, and then once again at the end of summer, like end of August. And so that is my plan for up there. I want that whole area to be mums, because most of the time when people are out here, it is going to be in the fall. So those ones still had life. I didn't even check these ones. I'm kind of just assuming that they aren't. And if any come back, great. I also have echinacea or coneflower to plant there. And I have some asters. And what was the other one? Black-eyed Susans. So that whole area is just going to be for an entire year or entire season of blooms. It'll start in the early spring and then continue until we get good freezes. So then the last big thing that we're going to be doing is putting a bathroom in down here. And we don't have electricity, but we are able to get a permit for a privy, which is kind of like an outhouse, but it has its own self-contained tank. It's kind of like a mixture between an outhouse and porta potty. And so we are going to do that, and that is going to go back in there. So we are going to make it so that it looks similar to the greenhouse, black trim and the rough sawn boards. And a place that makes the tanks for the state parks and national campgrounds is only an hour away from us, so we are able to order the tank from them. And so it should be, I'm hoping that it is done in time for Sydney's graduation. Then that way we can use it there. But then that'll save a lot of time, because a good chunk of our time is spent walking up to the house to go to the bathroom and back. So we will just have that pumped multiple times a year, probably the same schedule that the neighboring horse arena uses for their outhouse or porta potty that they use for their facility. So that is going to be kind of like the big things for this year. We do have a few more things out in the pasture, but we'll talk about that at a different date. Just because right now I'm focused on getting this stuff for the growing season in and done and ready before Sydney's graduation. All right, that is it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.